sector to the private sector. Let me introduce myself quickly. So I'm the founder of RD2 Conseil. I created this company about 10 years ago in 2013. And we define ourselves as searcher of searchers. Briefly, where I come from, I began in the private companies in the banking sector. Then I entered companies and I created a company dedicated to finding subsidies for R&D activities in the private company, especially startups and SMEs. Maybe you know the expression research tax credit, crédit d'impôt recherche. And that was my job, to help the private companies to get this kind of subsidies, especially tax credit for R&D activities. During this experience, I noticed that there was a great interest regarding the hiring of doctors, but usually some kind of the lack of knowledge of the companies, of the startups, of the R&D managers regarding the doctors and the academic sectors, and also the difficulty to find the right candidates when they had job offers. So I decided 10 years ago to create some kind of matrimonial agency, some kind of link between the academic and the private sector, and focused on the PhDs. So who we are, what is RD2? We are a recruiting company. We can use the word headhunter because in the methodology, in the approach, we are not a database of CVs, but instead we come from the needs of the recruiter, and we try to contact the right candidates. We work in all kinds of scientific sectors, from computer science for sure, because we have a lot of job offers, of job proposals in the domain of computer science, especially in artificial intelligence, data science, but also in the life sciences sector, in chemistry, in electronics, and also in the I would say social sciences. And we have a target on what is called young PhD. It's an expression defined by the research tax credit. Young PhDs are people who didn't get any CDI contract with no term, and where there is a specific incentive, financial incentive. Actually, we are focused on the PhDs. I understand that this webinar is a bit larger than only the PhD holders or PhD students. We also address some kind of other people, like master students, that wonder about whether or not continuing in the academic sector and continuing especially by doing a PhD. So this presentation will be interesting for the master students about the competencies and the skills that you can highlight when you have a PhD. It's gonna address also the people more that don't have a PhD, that don't get a PhD, but which work in the academic sector, and finally who can think that they have the same projects, the same abilities, the same skills as the PhD holders, and the goal will be to understand how you can present yourself to a private recruiter. One last word about the process. and about the process of a headhunter like RD2. Actually, we don't push CV, we don't push candidates to the companies. The first step will be really to understand the needs, the job proposal, the competencies that are required by the company, what the projects are, and then the goal for us will be to identify and approach and select the right and the best candidates. And for this, we will focus on the knowledge, for sure, the scientific expertise, but also what we call the transverse competencies, the know-how, the soft skills, and the behavior. And after that, when the candidate is hired by the company, we'll also have the role of following the integration of the candidate and to make sure that there is a good match between the projects, the company, and the candidates. Maybe before I really start the presentation, one word about it. Don't hesitate to ask the question, or at least to write down the questions in the chat, and maybe Nassim can interrupt me during the presentation and ask the question that could be that you could have during the presentation. Maybe the first step, I wanted to emphasize the ignorance that exists between the companies and the academic laboratories, especially. Okay. For the French company, so I will focus on the French environment, on the French companies, because for sure it is quite different in other countries, especially in the countries, Anglo-Saxon countries like America for sure, but also Germany and England. So let's focus on the French environment. And what we can find in the French environment and the French companies is kind of a fear of the searcher. We have some images, positive or negative images, but these images are quite large among the managers and the people in the private companies. First, so what I express here in the next slides are the returns and the answers that we have from many companies that we approach to try to investigate if they want to hire doctors or not. The first return and the first feedback we have from the companies is the fact that they fear that the searcher, the PhD, or the people in the laboratories work too much on fundamental research and fundamental research that will be very far from their day-to-day projects. What they usually say is that they want people focused on the projects, focused on the clients, and they don't need. Usually, they tell me with quite a smile, but they tell me that they don't want searchers, they want finders, and that's the problem with this image. They think that the people from the academic will be very good in the not in the problem solving, but in the problem finding. You know, in the applied or fundamental research, far from concrete situations, and they fear that they won't be able to have this problem solving ability. Second feedback I really usually get is the problem of the marketing, I would say. The way that you try to promote yourself, that you want to, the way that you want to sell yourself. And usually when they get a CV from people from the academic sector, from the laboratories, usually they don't get it. It's they don't find the codes of the CV. You know, usually it's really often that I receive CV of 10 pages, 15 pages with a list of all the publications, all the conferences. When you have a PhD, you give the name of all the people from the jury during the defense, of the people in the laboratory with the supervisors of the postdocs, of the thesis. And when a recruiter in a private company that is used to having a one-page CV or maybe 2 pages maximum, when they read a 10, 15 pages CV, they're lost, and usually they don't spend the time to read the resume, and they prefer to throw it away. Also, and this is true here for the PhD, in France, we say that a PhD is yeah, Nassim? No? Okay, sorry. We say that a PhD is a back plus 8. And that means for the understanding of the recruiter that you have spent 8 years doing your studies, doing your training, and you're not operational, and you're not a young professional. Actually, what I prefer, and I think most of the universities try to highlight, is that a PhD holder will be a 5-year student, master level, plus 3 years of professional experience. And also we have the image of the people in the laboratory that are not constrained by time, by financial resources, by people, by hierarchy. The recruiter, we see the environment in the academic sector, academic laboratories, like some kind of easy life, you know, with some kind of time. When you do a PhD, you have 3 years to deal with your project, and usually it's seen like a lot of time compared to sometimes 1 month or 6 months projects in a company. These are some negative image. You can also have some positive image, and it's not useful also because and I didn't mention in a slide, but what I can say and what I see usually is also people, especially from smaller companies, that think that hiring a searcher, hiring someone who was used to deal with some complex problems, some fundamental research, that was used to deal with experts and scientific experts, like in the CEA or CNRS. They think that the problems they deal in the companies won't be enough interesting for the searchers, and they say, okay, I won't hire a searcher, it's too much for me. Also, they have the image that someone that is from the academic sector, that is graduated from a PhD, will cost a lot in terms of money, in terms of salary, and they can't afford to hire a PhD. And that's not true also, and we'll see it later. But you have also this kind of, I would say, two positive image that make the recruiter prefer to focus on engineers, for example. Clear for everyone? Okay, great. On the other hand, I usually see, and very often I see also, the ignorance of the business regarding the people in the laboratories and the people having a PhD. And it's true, sometimes these are two different and two separate words. And this word don't mix, and usually people who have a PhD, who are in masters, research masters, they didn't have the ability to learn how it works in a private company. They many times didn't get any internships in a private company, and they don't know what we call the codes of the company, dressing code, project management codes, the way to behave in a private company. For example, the CV I mentioned just before. So you have kind of an ignorance of the way a private company will function. Also, usually there's an ignorance also to sell yourself. During a recruiting process, I really often understand and notice that finally, when I ask the candidates to present themselves, they really will focus only on the scientific skills. They will express what they do during the projects. They will express what they did during the thesis. What are the scientific tools they use to deal with the problems, with the issues. And then it will be that will be this problem in the CV, but also during the recruiting interview. And it doesn't send what I call the right signals, because usually when you are in a recruiting interview, that means that we kind of understand that the technical skills are present, are there, and we want to know more about how you project yourself in the company, what will be your added value for the company, for the recruiter, for the team. And the fact that during the recruiting process, it will be kind of a thesis defense. That's not what we want to understand and to get in the interview. And this is, I would say, this shows that you are not focused on the recruiter's expectations. What I want you to understand, and that will be my message all around the presentation, is to put yourself in the place of the recruiter. What I want as a recruiter is not to understand exactly what you did during the thesis, what you did during the projects, the R&D projects, the technical tools that you used. What I want to understand is how you can deal with the problems in my company tomorrow. If I recruit you, how you will interact with the other people, how you will try to understand and get to know the problems of the company, and how you can deal with the problems to find solutions. So the future will be much more important than the past. What you will do and what you will be able to do in the future will be much more important than what you did in the past during your academic experience. So that was the first part of the presentation, just to make you understand that you have kind of and many kind of images for the private companies, for the doctors and the academic sector, and you have to be able to focus on what the people in front of you want. And I'm really sure, I'm really convinced that you have really common interest between the academic and the private sector to work together. First of all, for sure, the scientific expertise, what is called the knowledge, is really important. And this will make the difference coming from the academic sector to work on breakthrough innovation instead of sometimes incremental innovation. Many companies work on incremental innovation, the small steps that we call them, and sometimes when they make people coming from other sectors, other domains, and especially from the laboratories, they want to make a real innovation and try to focus on real research and development. Also, as I told you, there is a financial incentive in France focused on the young PhDs that make the hiring of a PhD holder with no financial risk. And maybe we can have some 1 minute about this incentive. It's the research tax credit. The research tax credit in general is dedicated to all kinds of expenses in the R&D departments. It will finance salaries, it will finance intellectual property expenses, it will finance the collaboration between the laboratories and the company. But in this subsidy, there is a focus on the recruitment of what is called young doctor. So a young doctor is a doctor, a PhD holder, that was never recruited under undefined term contract, what is called CDI in France. And when the research tax credit will finance an engineer, for example, up to 43% of the salary, the tax credit for young doctor will be up to 120% of the salary during 2 years. It is huge. It is really huge. It is an incentive that is not very well known among the companies. So if you have a PhD, if you never signed a CDI before, be aware that you have the tax credit that can be a real argument for your proposal. Also, what I saw in my previous experience in a consulting company, in the fact that I was used to accompany many companies, startup, small and medium companies. In the R&D departments, they usually lack the ability of technological watch. They know how to make marketing watch. They know what the competitors do, what the other products are on the market, but the real scientific technological watch is missing. And you, in the academic sector, you are used to read the publications, you are used to make the state of the art, and it's really interesting for a company to hire someone who is able to make and to be the reference, scientific reference in the technological watch.
Laurent,
yeah.
A few questions, maybe I can interrupt you.
Sure.
The first one from Annabelle is the tax credit something that should be mentioned on your CV?
For me, yes. Actually, when I discuss with a PhD candidate, my advice is to put the expression eligible to RTC, éligible au crédit d'impôt recherche, jeune docteur. Voilà, dispositif jeune docteur. If the company is aware of the incentive, you will give the recruiter directly the information on the CV. If the recruiter doesn't know about this young doctor incentive, the fact that you put it on your CV maybe will make him get the information. Usually in the CV, especially in the one page, you're supposed to put the essential information regarding you. So if at one point you say that you are eligible for the young doctor incentive, you will make the recruiter ask himself, what is it and why is it mentioned on the CV? So my advice is, yes, put it, say that you are eligible to this research tax credit on your resume, on your CV.
Thank you. And there is a second question by Kilian about the young PhD status. I can read it. Can a young PhD also be a 35-year-old postdoc in order to be supported by the French tax credit? So is there an age limit or?
No, there is no limit of age. Actually, my oldest young doctor was 46. He had his PhD at 28, and then he was an astrophysicist, and he had a postdoc, 4 to 5 year postdoc all around the world, in South Africa, in China, in Chile, and at 46, he had never signed a contract, so he was still eligible to the young doctor. So there is no limit of age, and I see that in my recruitments for our clients, it will be 50-50. 50% of what we call the young doctors. That means the doctors that just graduated and just defended the thesis, and we have 50% of people who have 1 year, 2 years, sometimes 4 or 5 years experience as a postdoc, as a research engineer, as a ATER in France, which means you say enseignement and research, teaching and research. So no problem if you have some years of experience after the thesis. The point is really the first undefined term contract.
Thank you. And also a last one that can be, is the PhD has to be obtained in France, or it's not?
No, actually it can be a PhD. Would say can be French people who obtain the PhD in France. It can be French people who obtain the PhD abroad. It can be foreign people who obtained a PhD in France, or foreign people who obtained a PhD abroad. The criteria is the PhD or PhD equivalent, you know, and at the moment that your diploma is recognized by the French government, then it works.
Thank you.
Okay, for the questions. So great. The last thing I wanted to emphasize here about the common interest and the skills is about the transversal skills, especially the skills that you develop during your experience in the academic sector, the skills of communication, of project management, of ability to get information, what I just called technological watch, that allow you finally, if not to be recruited directly by the company, at least to evolve later in the companies and to evolve and to take responsibilities. And usually what you can find in the big companies or some small companies also is the people that take responsibilities, especially under scientific technical expertise in the R&D departments, etc. They usually come from the academic sector, and they usually hold PhDs. So that's the image here, you know, of the fish that goes from one bowl to another with bigger and bigger bowls, because you have the ability to evolve and really to take responsibilities thanks to your experience that was quite different from all the other people that were hired directly in the private sector. I talk a lot about competency and the skill. Maybe we can have a focus on what is competency, what is skill, and in the human resource language, usually we focus on three expressions, three words: the knowledge, the know-how, and the behavior or soft skills. And also, what you have to understand is that it's good to talk and to be aware of what your skills are, but it is also better to be able to present your skills in a specific context, in a specific situation. Here are 3 slides that I present. So you understand that my goal as the founder of RD2 is to find a lot of clients, to find a lot of companies that will be interested in hiring PhD holders. And here are the skills and the competencies I want to highlight to make the people in front of me, the general managers, the R&D manager, the HR managers. I want to highlight the competency that a PhD can bring to the company. First of all, the knowledge. So it will be the technical scientific expertise. That's true that people from the academic domain are supposed to be specialists in R&D activities. They are supposed to have a strong scientific background due to, first of all, their training. And usually, especially when you have a PhD, you have the tendency to forget that there is a life before the thesis. But the training that you add, the experience in terms of internships, in terms of professional activity is also important. So let's remind yourself that you have a general background, a generalist knowledge that can be used in your future or professional experience. And then you have also developed an expertise thanks to the projects managed during the academic projects. Then regarding the know-how, what we call the general skills, I think it's really common that you develop skills really important for the private companies, and skills that can be developed especially in the academic environment. The way that you can apply a scientific methodology, let's say being able to make the state of the art, to read the articles, to define a problem and a way of investigating the problems, and then to deal with the A/B testing, with the iterations during your methodology. That is really important. The way also the ability to deal with complex problems. I told you about the fundamental research, but sometimes dealing with fundamental or applied research can be really interesting for people that want to deal with more complex projects. And that's what can be interesting for people, recruiters in the private companies, because they know that in the academic sector and in some laboratories, the problem solving is very, very high level. Technology watch, we spoke about it. Also, the way that you can use and some R&D and technological tools. What I noticed in my professional experience is that the tools that you use in the academic sector are very often very interesting for the private companies. It means that you have access to tools, to machines that sometimes the startups and the companies don't use. And the fact that you can provide them with the ability to find some new solutions, to know what laboratories use the machines, use the tools, use the some methods, you can provide with an added value because you know how it works and who are the people that you can contact to use these tools. And also you have the ability to communicate. Usually in the academic sector, in the laboratories, you are in a multinational environment. For example, this presentation today, it's in English. We have people from all over the world, I think, and you manage to interact and to communicate with the people in your laboratories and during the conferences and also for writing articles, for example, and you have this real ability to communicate in an international environment, which is quite the contrary with the image that we can have of someone alone, I would say alone in the dark, with the books, etc. This image is really not true. And what I understand when I speak to the PhD candidates, etc., is that you have a lot of communication and interaction with many people. And last one, but not least, I would say the soft skills, the behavior, the creativity, the curiosity, the ability to learn and to train yourself, because every day you have to deal with new projects and new problems, the ability to convince, to argue when you have to find the financing, especially in the laboratories. Sometimes the money is clue, and you have to argue to find the negotiation skills to persuade the people around you, sometimes your supervisors, to give you money for your experience. The sense of responsibility. That's true that sometimes in the academic sector, in the laboratories, you are quite alone, but being alone makes you also feel responsible for what you do and for your projects. And above all, I would say that we can find in the people working in the laboratory, in the PhD, the sense of motivation and loving innovation and wanted to go further and further to find innovation projects. Okay, with that, any question at this stage? Okay. I wanted to share with you some tools to make you able to better assess your skills, better find out and be able to present the different skills. So here is one useful tool that was made by a collaboration between a French association dedicated to promote the doctors, which is ABG, Association Bernard Grégory, and a French associations of companies, which is the MEDEF, and they what can I say? They made this Doc Pro, which is kind of a skill portfolio that is open to everybody. So don't hesitate to go to the website mydocpro.org, which allows you to assess your skills, and regarding these different competencies, try to evaluate yourself. Another tool which can be useful is RNCP, which is some kind of tool made by the French Ministry of Labor. It exists for all kinds of training. from the bac to the bac +8. And in 2019, the RNCP integrated the doctoral degree in the list of repositories. So you have some list of competencies that all the doctors, whatever the domain, whatever the scientific expertise, all the doctors should possess, should have. And I think it could be useful that you take a look at the blocks of competencies. You'll figure out that the first block is dedicated to the scientific technical expertise, but you have also 5 blocks which are more about the transferable, transverse, and soft skills that the doctors developed during the academic experience. And I think that maybe if you have not a PhD, dealing with the same problems as the PhD, working in the academic environment, go to the RNCP. You can find out some interesting skill that you can promote. I told you also that what is important in the competency is not the competency itself, but the way you present it, and especially the way you present it in a specific situation. So I give you also this tool, the STAR method. The STAR method is a methodology of presenting yourself, presenting your skills, following the situation, task, action, and result. That means that when you have identified one competency, you try to give the proof, to give the example in a specific context, specific project. And when you present to a future recruiter, try to focus on the STAR. First, you present the situation, the context. Then you present the task that you had to do, to deal with. Then you present the action, what you did, the works, and finally the result. And one of the results would be for sure the competency, but also focus on the quantitative and qualitative results that you achieved. So here is an interesting tool that you can use. Go take some information and try, when you are dealing with your skill assessment, try to find some examples and to present with the STAR method. I don't know if Nassim will share with you the presentation, but I will give the authorization. Here is a slide of the lot of transferable skills, personal skills that you can develop in the academic sector. And I focus and I highlight the word transferable because that's really true. These are the skills that you can transfer from the academic sector, from the academic experience to the private experience and to the private companies. The communication is really important. The resilience is really important. Critical thinking, versatility, problem solving, those are a lot of skills. Those are some examples, but you can try to understand them, to give a look at them and try to assess your skills. And the last point about the skills that you develop, here is a study from the World Economic Forum that tried to understand and to figure out what will be the important skills in 2025 for the companies. And you know, the transferable skills I talked about in the previous slide, you find the 10 most important skills here. The analytical thinking in the academic projects, for sure, you deal with analytical thinking and innovation. The active learning, the problem solving, the leadership, when you deal with many people, with the internships, with the doctors, with the postdoc, etc. The resilience, tolerance to stress. I'm sure that all these skills here the top 10 most important skills in the next years. I'm sure that you're able to present them in your own experience. Finally, to conclude about this presentation, I wanted to give you some look about the recruiter point of view, to give you some tips, some tools about the way to behave in a recruitment process. First, my first advice would be to try to get and to have what is called an elevator pitch. I don't know if you're used to the expression elevator pitch. Usually, it's used in the fundraising environment when you have a startupper, when you have someone who want to create a company, who want to raise funds. He has to be able to present the company, who he is, what he wants to do, and what he wants during the time of an elevator. If you meet someone in the elevator, you have 1 to 3 minutes to present yourself. And that's what you will have to do as a PhD, for example, to present, to answer the question. When I ask the question, present yourself, I don't want you to present your thesis during 10, 15, 20 minutes. It happens, and that's not the goal. When I say, okay, we meet, we have a short introduction by phone or video conference, I ask all the candidates, can you present yourself? What I want is a 2 minutes, 3 minute pitch to present where they come from, who they are, and what they want to do in the future. So this is an introduction. This is a message that invites to a discussion, and that doesn't have to say everything. So here the tip for the pitch, the bottleneck: where you come from, the past, who you are, what's your current situation, what you do, what you will do in the next weeks, and what your expectations are in the future, and especially the expectations regarding the job proposal and the company. Don't forget that the pitch can be different if it's a phone call, if it's a meeting face-to-face. It can be different also regarding the person. You won't say the same, especially regarding your technical skills, if you're speaking to the human resource manager, if you're speaking to the consultant like me, or if you speak directly to the R&D manager. So put yourself in the place of the recruiter. Try to understand or to imagine what the expectation of the people in front of you are, and try to answer these expectations. Some words also about the CV, the cover letter. As a headhunter, we receive a lot of CVs. Be aware that usually we spend 30 seconds to read a CV. So imagine if we receive a CV of 10 pages, 30 seconds is very, very short. We have to identify quite directly the keywords, the criteria that we look for. And if it's not, we throw the CV away. So focus on the missions, focus on the results. Usually I get the answer, do we have to put a photo or not? I would say it depends. If you put a photo, it has to be professional, and the photo needs to make me eager to meet you. Sometimes instead of making a CV with 10 pages, for sure you can have a CV with 1 page, 2 pages maximum, and give the appendices. You can put some websites, the LinkedIn profile, the publication with a link on the CV. It's usually very useful. English or French, I would say both. I say I can have a 2-page CV or 4 pages with, in the same document, a CV in French and a CV in English. It can be really useful to have the French and English version on the same document, especially for the job boards. And when the recruiter is looking for some keywords, sometimes they look, some people will look and write down the keywords in French, sometimes in English. It allows you to appear whatever the language. And the cover letter, is it read or not? In my personal experience, in 95% of the case, I won't read the cover letter. The CV will be enough for me to make my opinion on the adequation of the profile to the job proposal. And when I have a doubt, when I'm not sure about the CV, in this case, I will read the cover letter. And then what I want is for you to make me understand why you are the best candidate for the job. If the cover letter is just another version of the CV and says, I did this, exactly what I can find out in the CV, it's not going to be appropriate. So keep in mind, the goal of the CV of the cover letter is to get the interview, is to make the recruiter understand that you are appropriate, the right person, the right candidate for the job. And the goal is to make him take the phone and call you for a job interview. Networking, it's 7:30. I will be quick, but work on your network because it's really very hard. You are in a competition. The recruitment process is a competition. You will deal with people that are already in private companies, that are engineers, that don't come from the academic sector. So I think that one of the best advice I can give you also tonight is, instead of competing directly in front of other people because you answer to a job proposal on the job board, instead of that, try to know the people, to know the companies, to know what they do, to know what the projects are, and to be known by the people. And sometimes we speak about the hidden market. The hidden market regarding recruitment is the market where the people will first of all contact the people they know around them and try to try the people before sending a job proposal or publishing a job proposal. So the networking attitude is very important, and try to get to know other people through LinkedIn, through ResearchGate, through the contacts and the interactions you have with the people in the academic laboratories. And finally, when you get to the interview, focus on the competencies you want to express. Do not say everything, but try to focus on the skills that are important for the recruiter, or you think are important for the recruiter. Answer the needs and the criteria of the recruiter. And sometimes you get the criteria in the job proposal. And finally, be aware that a recruiter is a human being, and what he wants is to be reassured, is to have confidence that you are the best person and to take the risk to hire you. It is a real risk. A recruitment is a risk, financially speaking, a risk of hiring a human being that is not appropriate and that won't match with the other people in the team. A technical risk also, if you don't have the scientific and technical skills. So what you have to understand when you answer a job proposal is that you have to minimize all the risk for the recruiter. And that's it. Thanks a lot for your attention. So maybe we can have a time for questions, answers about your skills, about the recruitment process, about the way I function with my clients. So don't hesitate.
Thanks a lot, Laurent, for all of these tools, all of these advices. I think it will be useful for all of us, and to have the point of view of the recruiters. I think it's important for us. I think we have a first question from Annabelle.
Yep.
Hello, Laurent.
Hello, Annabelle.
Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Annabelle Suisse. I'm a postdoc from Institut Curie. So my contract as a postdoc will end this summer, and I'm planning on moving, changing regions, and applying for a job in the new region. But so I will be available for a job only in the summer. When would you advise me to start applying for jobs? I've started already networking, but I wanted to know when it's appropriate to start sending CVs and applying for positions, etc.
I really often have the question, and I don't know if I have an answer that will suit you, because I would say it depends.
I've been told that if you send a CV too early, people will be annoyed.
Yeah, that's true. I would say it depends if you send a CV to a job proposal, a job published on the internet, or not. For example, a spontaneous application, you can send it right now, because you will be known by the recruiter. Maybe they don't have a job right now, but regarding the activity of the departments, maybe they can begin to ask the people around them in the different R&D departments if a CV like yours is interesting or not. So I would say spontaneous application, you enter into the database of the company. So that can be useful. On the contrary, if you have a job published, a job proposal published, that means that the job is opened, the position is opened. For example, for my company, for my clients, when I publish a job proposal, usually they want someone for yesterday, so they won't be able to, unless the profile is very, very complicated, but usually they want people that will be available in the 2 to 3 next months. Keep in mind that if you're in a private company, if I approach you and I want you to quit your job, you will have for sure a 3 months delay between the day you quit your job and the day you will be able to begin in another company. So I would say in France, we have the 3 months delay that is usually accepted. If it's longer, it will
What is this 3 months delay? What do you mean?
This is called the préavis in France.
Ah, okay, préavis, okay.
So
something legal.
When you're in a job, you have 3 months obligatory, mandatory before you can can quit your job.
Yes.
So keep in mind these 3 months is usually the time delay accepted by a company.
I think that's for CDD. I think people in CDD it's shorter, no?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but for the other postdocs who are on CDD as well.
My example was to make you know that people accept and know that there is a minimum 3 months delay. When it's shorter, that's great. And when you have a defined term contract, it's going to be 15 days or 1 month. But the point is, if you apply to a job published before the 3 months and you're available in 4, 5, 6 months, it's too early in the process.
Okay.
And it's gonna provoke frustration for the recruiter, because sometimes I receive CV and I read the CV, I say, okay, that's the perfect candidate, and I contact the candidate to have the interview. And usually it's only at the end of the interview they tell me, okay, I'll be available in October 2023. And I'm very pissed off.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a waste of time for everyone.
Yeah.
Except for the postdoc who got to practice the interview. But thank you.
David, yeah.
Hey, Laurent. Thank you for everything you said today. So I'm David Remy. I'm a fresh PhD student from the Institut Curie. So you've told us a lot about, you know, the skills that every PhD and postdoc has, basically the knowledge, know-how, and the soft skills. So my question is, you were just saying right now, I have the CV of someone who is perfect for the job, but I'm guessing that all the CVs basically have these knowledge, know-how, soft skills. So what is like this this thing that makes you go like, oh wow, this is the perfect candidate, basically? Like, do you have any examples of what you can find on the CV that will tell you this candidate is better than the other PhD, the other postdocs that I've seen, basically?
So you understand that we are focused on the PhD. So for sure, what I told you about the transversal and transferable skills, usually that won't make the difference between one PhD or the other. Well, at least sometimes the way they express it will be interesting. So what we look for, and when we contact the candidates, will be based, I would say, 75 or 80% on the technical skills, technical keywords. Usually, let's say a doctor in molecular biology, if I focus only on molecular or cellular biology, if I post a job proposal, I will receive the 300 or 500 CVs. And usually we focus on very more specific expertise and scientific expertise. And that will be the first step of the selection, which will be in the general area of expertise. What are the people and the candidates that possess and that can prove that they have the criteria of my clients? And then the other selection after that, that will be more in the interview process. So in the video conference, in the face-to-face interview, will be also the ability to vulgarize, to communicate, to express the results, to show me that they understood what the job is about, what the company deals with in terms of problems, and how can they, what the added value they can add, give to the company. Because usually it's not going to be exactly the same project, you know, between the PhD and the private projects. So my job is to try to find the connections, but then the candidate has to convince me that he has understood and how he can make the link between what he did in the past and what he imagines what will be the job in the future.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Maybe just what I just said is very important, because I told you about my question, present yourself, about the pitch, about the fact that sometimes the candidates think that the interview process is just a thesis defense, and they speak about blah, 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 what they did, the results, etc., and very, very technical. And actually, what I want from the candidate is to tell me what he has understood from the job and how he can deal with the job. So instead of saying everything about your technical skills and about the thesis or about the projects that you dealt with, and it can last 15, 20 minutes, and you give everything and you say, okay, do your market and try to find out what is interesting for you. I prefer something very focused on what you have understood. And maybe in 2 minutes, you will say, okay, I think that your clients need this, this, this. This is what I did in my thesis, and this is why I'm the best candidate. And sometimes that's very more useful to say this in 2 minutes instead of trying to explain everything in your thesis in 20 minutes.
Thanks a lot, Laurent. I think we have a question from Radi in the chat. Based on the Radi, you can go.
Hello. Yeah, thank you for this presentation. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay.
Hello, Radi.
I just have a question on management and job evolution. So my question was like to evolve in the career in the industry. Do we have to do a training or courses, to have courses in management and things like that in order to be considered for this kind of position, or just like experience and stuff like that? Coming from a PhD from the academic sector.
It's a difficult question because I cannot say it's useless to have a training in management. And I think it can be useful to have some training in project management, especially because very often I hear the PhD, I hear from the PhD candidate that they can manage projects because they manage their PhD. And actually, managing a thesis, managing the 3 years of the PhD of the doctorate is not exactly the same as the project management as we understand in the private companies with managing resources, financial resources, human resources, etc. So I think sometimes that to have been trained on project management with the tools like Gantt, like Microsoft Project, etc., it can be useful. Also, when you have a PhD and you are focused on the scientific expertise, it can be also useful to have some training. But very often it's made by the laboratories and the universities, the transversal trainings about accounting, about business, about entrepreneuriat, about management in general. However, I think that this kind of training won't make you, how can I say? It's not the kind of training that from the PhD will make you directly the manager in the company. Usually you have a transition phase when you enter a company. If you want to have responsibilities and especially management responsibilities in the future, it's interesting. But it's not because you have had training in management that a company will say, okay, Radi, no problem, you can now manage a team of 10 people in the R&D department. Usually you have a transition, but I think that this transition can be very quick because I have the example of one candidate I met hired. The company, it was a small company. It was about 15 people in the company. They wanted to hire a doctor to get a R&D engineer job position. They hired the doctor, and after 6 months, the doctor took the responsibility and the management of the team of 6 people in the company. because he had developed during the thesis, he had developed during the academic experience, the ability to manage people, to understand the problems, to be able to write and define a technical roadmap. So in the 6 months, he was able to convince the founder of the company that he was the right person to take the job of the chief technical officer.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Roddy. Did I answer the question? Is it clear to you?
Yes, yes, great, thank you.
Maybe I have a question, me too.
Yeah, Nassim.
Regarding the transition between academia and private companies, do you think that the sooner the better, or do you think that we have to build a strong technical expertise through postdocs and other experience abroad, for example, when the final goal is to go to a company? Or do you think that we have to move as soon as we know that we want to move, that, for example, at the end of the master, at the end of the PhD?
Many answers to that question also. Because I meet people that right after the PhD have a clear view of what they want to do in the future and what they don't want. And so sometimes they don't want to go on in the academic laboratories, and usually they did a PhD to get the PhD degree because it's very recognized abroad, etc. But they know they don't want to be professor or to go on in the research environment. So when they are clear about what they want to do, I think it's better to try to enter the private company and have the pitch about why you did the PhD and why just after the PhD you want to enter the private sector. Also, sometimes I meet candidates that did 4 or 5 years of postdoc because they really wanted to be hired in the academic sector, and at one point they understood that it was not feasible, that it was too complicated, because we all know the difficulty to get a permanent contract in the academic sector. So after some years, they say, "Okay, I know I won't be able to go on, or at least in many years." And at this point, they say, "Okay, if I can go on in the academic sector, I have many competencies, many skills that I can promote to the private company, and I want to enter a private company that will be able to give me the ability to work on the concrete projects and interesting projects." What I advise you, on the contrary, is when you are not clear. When you are not clear, if you still want to go in the academic, but you know it's difficult, and maybe you can be better paid in the private company. And sometimes I have this kind of interview when I ask the candidate, and he tells me, yes, if I have a postdoc, I think I would say yes. But if I have a job in the private company, maybe it could be interesting also. So I don't really know. And this is the worst situation as a candidate and for the recruiter, because I told you about the risk, and one of the risks is to propose you the job, and at the end, and I think at best at the end of the process, you will say, "Thank you, but no, I won't join you." And sometimes, and I had the case of doctors that I met hired in the company, and during the transition period, the first months, at 3 months, they quit the company because they got a postdoc job position somewhere else. And here it's a pity for everybody.
Okay, thanks a lot. Annabelle, you want to go? Or
Yeah, sure, I can go. No, because you were talking about the postdocs who are not sure if they want to stay in academia or not. How about those that they want to leave academia, but they haven't found their dream job yet? They don't know exactly what job is best for them in the private sector. Like they have several options that would be good for them, but they're still open-minded.
Yeah, I would say that's interesting because last week I was in a jury with the doctoral students, and one of the members of the jury said the job process is like quantum mechanics.
Oh, okay.
Quantum mechanics, where you have to be open and you can do one thing and the other and tell the recruiter in front of you that you can be and not be at the same time. And I totally disagreed with him, actually, because I think in a process, in a job process, in a recruitment process, choosing is renouncing. At one point, you have to choose. So I told you in the slide, you have the slide about networking. And this is really important because networking is trying to contact the people, to get to know what they do exactly, in what kind of company, and you have to make the state of the art in the, about the job positions and the jobs in the companies. And when you have enough information, I think you should be able to focus or to give you some choices. I don't say that you have to apply only for one job proposal, but you have to be able to have some kind of idea about what you want to do, the kind of position, the kind of companies, and you apply. And when you are offered a job, you say, okay, that's the one, and I choose and I renounce to all the other positions or not. And don't forget also that you have a 40 years career in front of you, and it's okay to change, to move, and sometimes to make the bad decision. You can still make a bad decision. You will get some experience and some skills even from a bad experience.
Yeah. Although the first choice seems to be very important because of this 2-year CIR jeune docteur.
Yeah, but
you don't want to waste that opportunity.
Don't forget. So in France, on the undetermined term contract, you have a period, the first month. So usually it's 4 months. It can be up to 8 months. And actually, you have one time, but if you decide to quit the company or if the company doesn't want to go on with you, you will be still eligible to the incentive of the young doctor. So
within the period d'essai, is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay.
If
Good
you quit during the period d'essai, you still have the opportunity for the next company to hire you as a young doctor.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
Cute.
So you can fail one time.
Yeah. One time only?
One time only.
Okay. Well, good to know. Thank you.
okay, I can't see any more question. I don't know if there is any last question raising from the chat or anyone here. If not, I will thank everyone here for attending to this first webinar of the webinar series of the Réseau Biotechno. Thank, of course, Laurent and RD2 Conseil for all of this advices, all of this expertise. It's always nice to have the point of view of the recruiters to know what are the thing that you are waiting for us, and how you judge us on the other side of the table. I take the opportunity to say everyone here, not to forget to register to our social network, so the Réseau Biotechno and Biotechno Marseille for those living in the south of France. We have a lot of webinars coming, so it will be the last Wednesday of every month. The next one will be the 22nd of February on the research and development in the industry, with the point of view of researchers in the industry and in small companies and big companies to have their feedback on their experience. So thanks again, Laurent. Thanks again for attending, and see you in next webinars, and of course in our physical meetings, which are the Forum Biotechno in a lot of cities. So a lot of news are coming. Thanks again, and see you all.
Thank you, everybody, for the participation, and enjoy the next webinars. It's very useful, I think, for everybody to mix and to discuss with people from other experience. So thanks a lot for the invitation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye everybody.
Thank you so much. It was very interesting.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. Bye-bye.